Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story is from another throwaway account and does come with an update as well. It's titled, How Do I, 24 male, get my dad, 52 male, to realize his wife, 38, is not my mum, and to quit pressing a relationship. My mum passed when I was 14. I was always closer with her than my dad, so I took it very hard and still missed her every day. My dad moved on extremely quickly. I'm talking about 1.5 months later, and he was openly dating his current wife. I suspect he was cheating on my mum. She moved in 4 months after my mum's death. Then 9 months after her death, they announced their engagement on my birthday as one of my gifts. I obviously didn't take it well. Made a scene and dumped the cake they got me and walked out. I disappeared for a few days until they were about to put out a missing person / runaway report. I was forced to go back. They tried to get rid of all the evidence of my mum, pictures, personal effects, memories, and others. I kept what I could and hid some others. They wouldn't let me celebrate her birthday or anything to do with my mum. They tried to force me to call her, my dad's wife, mum, and I never did. They would ignore me when I called her by her name. She would introduce herself as my mum, and I would correct her every time. It got to the point that I stopped talking to her unless absolutely necessary, or if I was correcting her. These talks were usually one-word answers. My dad got angry every time I didn't call her mum, use her first name, or introduce her as dad's name's wife. I once spent 2 weeks not talking to either of them when I was 16 because I was ruining their family dynamic. Until I could be a part of the family, there was nothing to say or do as one. They caved at about the 15th day of no communication / interaction. I turned 18 and left for uni and went extremely low contact and didn't go back. When I was 21, I got engaged to my fiance. She knows about my relationship with my dad and his wife. He respects it and is on my side. When they found out my dad and his wife had a fit, they didn't know I was seeing anyone. My dad's wife posted on social media saying she was excited that her son, me, was getting married with a bunch of other things. Then she can't wait until she becomes a grandma. I made a short post saying I am not and never was her son, and she won't be a grandma to any future kids. My dad got mad saying I was disrespecting my mother and embarrassed her. I asked who we were talking about because my only mother was real, only bio, gave me life mum. At this point, I lost both my parents on that day when I was 14. That was 3 years ago, and we went to low / no contact. When my wife is about 8 months pregnant, they showed up at my house. I never gave them my address. They wanted to talk and meet my wife. I didn't let them in and said to turn around and go back to where they came from. But apparently, they decided they wanted to move to my city / state to be closer and repair the relationship between us. She said she missed her son and wanted to be a better mum and grandma. I called them delusional and told them to leave and slam the door. They bought a house 5 minutes away from us. This has all been way too much for me. My therapist wants me to let them in, but I would rather cut all contact. It wouldn't be so bad if they would just stop trying to replace my mum and act like she never existed. I honestly don't know much about my dad's wife. I don't even know if I know who my dad is anymore. My wife is struggling to support me emotionally and doesn't know how to help. Please, internet strangers, how do I convince them, dad and dad's wife, she is not and will never be my mum? ETA about my therapist. He said I should try to express my true feelings towards them in a non-hostile and threatening manner. Do it in a way that is constructive but gets to the point. Learn more about my dad and his wife and get to the root of who they are and how they feel about the situation. But I'm going to find a better therapist. I can't help but think in this particular situation, the way it's acted and the way that the story's been told, it's like really stalkerish behavior, if you like. And I can totally understand why you want to go low to no contact with them. They keep insisting that you be a part of their lives like this, moving closer to you, etc. I want to suggest legal stuff, but I know from many of the stories we covered that you probably won't get very far with it. But is it worth a try? I don't know. People will correct me on that, I'm sure. And there's clearly going to be a lot of comments about the therapist as well, because Opie added that little ETA on the end there. But Lost Amongst the Stars says, scorched earth may be the only way. There seems to be no reasoning with them. They're trying to break you. They believe that if they do not let up, you will eventually cave. They want their perfect little lie of a life and seem to be willing to do just about anything to get it. By moving so close, they plan on stalking you, your wife, and your child/children. Suddenly, they will be at the same store at the same time and get to meet your kid/kids, even though you have denied them by any normal route. They may show up at daycares, at school events, birthdays, holidays, and anything they think they can manage to get access to keep up their lie. They don't seem to care about you or your family, just the idea of you as it fits into their fake world. If they truly cared, it would never have gotten this far. They are delusional and will not stop unless forced, telling them flat out anytime they come close to you and your family, including out and about, you will call the police for stalking and harassment until you are granted a restraining order for both of them. May get it across. You would have been willing to follow it through, but if they move 5 minutes away on a delusion, it may not be enough, or it may take a while of their stalking and get a sympathetic judge to get an order to keep them away. Also, look into your state's grandparents' rights laws. Just make sure they cannot try to sue to force you to let them see any children. Usually I think a pre-existing relationship is required, but it never hurts to dig just to make sure they cannot get it. Or they cannot fake it somehow to get what they want. If you truly want to hide, it may be hard. They may have been able to track you via public records if you did not tell them. It would take buying a house under something like an LLC and never telling anyone that may have a link to her where you moved to. I hope I am wrong and something finally clicks and they leave you alone. I wish you and yours the best. I cannot imagine the stress you are having to go through and may go through in the future. But OP does update the post and they say, "Hello all, thanks for your comments and feedback. I did read them all. I couldn't reply for some reason. Also for those who said I must be fake because of the lack of replying/updates. The post got so much attention that it was locked in 24 hours. I do have a life with work and an 8-month pregnant queen that I have the privilege of calling my wife that took priority. To answer some questions and to clarify. My wife, me and our unborn child are doing good overall. My wife is over being pregnant at this point. Our child should be here in the coming weeks. I did find a new therapist. I called to cancel the rest of my appointments on the books and he did not take that well. So I've put in a complaint. I met with my new one and I like her a lot better. I feel like I'm actually being heard and I'm actually getting the help I needed. I want to make this clear. I'm 24. My dad's wife is 38, 14 years older than me. My dad is 52, 14 years older than his wife. So when she entered my life, I was 14 and she was 28. There were also theories about how my dad might have something to do with my mum's death. That is not the case, but I still believe they were together before she passed. I'm investing in a security system, but it will be a few weeks until they can install it. But for now, we have a doorbell cam and some cheaper cameras. Social media. Since the post about her being excited about being a grandma, and my wife and I are getting engaged, we've locked down all social media. My wife and I are not active on any platforms anymore except for messaging or sharing pictures. We found the leak as well. It was my brother-in-law, wife's sister's husband. We had a family dinner where we had planned on working on the birthing plan. Brother-in-law was insistent on being there, which was odd as he was not part of it to begin with. While we were waiting for my mother-in-law to get home, I shared what happened between my dad and how it made me/my wife feel. Brother-in-law got visibly uncomfortable. When I called him out on it, he denied it, but it was obvious. Sister-in-law called him out and he broke down. He said he had been talking with them because we need all the family support we can get and they should know their grandbaby. This caused an argument. It ended with sister-in-law moving out and staying with us. They have no kids and had some issues. I think it's over for them. I will never trust him. Our birthing plan has been locked down and secure, made a day later without brother-in-law. But we have some just in case of crazy showing up plans. Everyone who needs to know the plan/details know. Now, it is surprisingly hard to get a protection order. Where I live, it is heavily dependent on violence or physical contact. Technically, what they have done is not against the law yet. They are perceived as no real danger at this time since there were no threats made, and they left when asked to. They have free will to move whenever they want. Also, since a family member gave another family member my address, it is fair game. In regards to grandparents' rights, it is only when my wife and I lost custody or are unable to care for them, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law will be taking on that role if needed. My wife and I are not in a position to move. We just bought our house when interest rates were low, and my in-laws helped with a down payment. There's nothing massive, but it is a home and perfect for our starter family. My dad and his wife are unable, shouldn't have kids. I don't know from what side made it impossible, so that may be why the constant pressure. I did write my dad a letter summing up why I went no contact, how I feel about what they did, how his wife is not my mum and will never be. If I feel like giving them a chance, it is on my family's terms. Specified that my family is me, my wife and any possible children moving forward. They are not to talk to my wife or I at any time unless it's through our lawyer. He can decide what information to pass on. They are not welcome around us at any point, including our house, school, daycare, social gatherings, birthdays, Christmas, barbecues, etc. As well as in public, we are strangers. Keep space and act like we don't exist. If they break this, they will get a follow-up letter, up to and including a protection order. The letter was quite long. Our lawyer looked it over and my wife and I signed it. Then he signed it as well as it being notarized. And then we made legal copies of our records. My lawyer went with a private delivery service and hand-delivered it to them with a signature of received goods, plus video evidence as well. So far, good on that end. I'm now focused on my wife and soon-to-be child. I hope I'm ready. I know how not to be a father, so there is that. Thanks all for your input. Is there anything else I should do or think of to protect my family? What was brother-in-law thinking in this that when he got found out he said need all the family support we can get? What from those two? You kidding me? Holy shit. And looking back over the post, it's so incredibly sad that they tried to ruin all traces of OP's mum from their lives, like getting rid of the pictures, the personal effects, the memories and the other stuff OP was talking about. They wouldn't let OP celebrate her birthday or anything to do with mum. How awful is that? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the A-hole subreddit from UsedMention1364 and says, am I the a-hole for embarrassing my cousin and getting us kicked out of a restaurant? I, female 25, don't have kids yet. I never really wanted them growing up, but I figure I'll eventually have kids in the future once I get my life together. My cousin Sarah, 29, has 2 bad behaved kids from previous relationships and a new baby with her boyfriend MJ, 40. Last night, my mother, sister, Sarah and I went to a sushi restaurant, and this was my first time having sushi. After we ordered, I had a hard time using the chopsticks. My cousin started obnoxiously laughing. The waiter came over and asked if I wanted training wheels, which is a little plastic item that attaches to the chopsticks and helps you hold them in place. My cousin laughed and said, sorry about her, she constantly embarrasses herself and us. I just gave her the side eye and put the training wheels on, and it was time to order the desserts. Her boyfriend MJ finally joined us, claiming that he was busy. She went on to tell him how stupid and slow I was for not knowing how to use chopsticks and how the waiters and everyone around now know that I'm an embarrassment. My mum asked her what her problem was and she goes on a rant about how I'm so embarrassing and it's no wonder I'm jealous of her being a mother and no one wants to have kids with me. I finally had enough. I said, I didn't have kids because I don't want to come out like you're rude pieces of shit and you're calling me an embarrassment. Didn't MJ just have a baby on you with his wife? Your baby literally has a sibling a week apart from her. You probably learned how to use chopsticks by eating his wife's leftovers. I guess when she was attacking me it was fine because everyone turned on me. It got so loud that management had to get involved. Sarah was screaming and crying. MJ was yelling at me and my mum and sister were berating me for being mean. Management brought the bill and told us to please pay it and leave. My mum paid the entire bill, but my sister said I'm an arsehole for embarrassing Sarah and getting us kicked out, and how she's probably going through postpartum depression. Now, I don't know if I went too far, seeing as she's probably going through some post-baby stress. Am I the a-hole? Rap2 writes says, everyone sucks here. You suck least, and I probably would have lost my shit too. In your shoes, in which case I too would suck. Your relatives kinda had it coming, but nobody else did. My god, what a dreadful scene. I feel awful for the other diners, many of whom were probably honouring Mother's Day a night early, if you're in the US. You should probably give some real consideration to avoiding being in public with these people. maybe avoid them altogether. They don't sound like they bring anything good to your life. Oh, and totally not the point, but chopsticks are super easy once you get the hang of them. There's a learning curve, but then all of a sudden, you know how. Either go with nicer people who will coach you instead of harassing you, or fiddle with it at home, even if it doesn't come up often. It's one of those things that it's nice to be able to do confidently. Edit to add, I can't approve of the airing of dirty laundry, but I can and do applaud your line about how she learned to use chopsticks. Magnificently brutal. And coming on from that, I didn't know you could get like training things for chopsticks. You can add something on to make it easier. I just quickly Googled training wheels for chopsticks. My search history's a mess. And they're pretty cool. I might have to actually invest in those one day. But Universal Shitlord says, not the a-hole, Asian here. You don't even eat sushi with chopsticks. It's a traditional finger food, lol. As for cousin, hopefully she'll rethink about dissing you next time. And for mum and co, depression is an excuse to shit on people. Excuse me please says not the a-hole. It needed to be said. You were literally defending yourself after being berated all night. Yes, she probably is going through postpartum, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that she was being cruel. You shouldn't have to put up with that, especially since you were just trying to have quality time with your family. I can understand it seeming mean, as some of what you said was, but it sounded like she needed a reality check. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? If you was in that restaurant, would you be offended at people arguing? Or there's some people in the comments saying they'd enjoy seeing that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And what am I the a-hole without a wedding story? And this one's from Furious, former bride, who says, am I the a-hole for standing up for myself on my wedding day? I need some perspective on a situation that happened at my wedding last weekend. It involves my husband's sister Lisa, 31 female. We have never been too close because she is ultra Christian and I'm an atheist, but things were never too bad between us until my wedding night. The ceremony went perfectly, but during the reception, my now sister-in-law kept making passive-aggressive comments to me about the wedding. She was complaining about the food, the music, the venue and the decorations, and it was really starting to get under my skin. I tried to brush it off and focus on enjoying my special day. I figured she was just in a foul mood since she was recently divorced, but she just wouldn't stop. I even asked my husband to talk to her about it, but he said it wasn't a big deal and I was overreacting. Then, during our first dance, Lisa came up and grabbed the microphone from the DJ and started giving a speech about how she and my husband used to be so close and how much she misses him and how much he changed since meeting me. How lonely she is now. She was laying it on thick like she was mourning my husband or something. I have to admit, at this point I saw red. It was so inappropriate and disrespectful, and it felt like she was trying to make the wedding about her instead of us. I confronted her after the speech and told her that she was being disrespectful and that she needed to stop it. We got into a heated argument and it was really uncomfortable for everyone around us. Afterwards, she stormed off and we didn't really see her again for the rest of the night. After the wedding, my husband's family was upset with me for causing drama and ruining the mood of the reception. They think that I should have just let it go and not confronted Lisa about her behavior. I feel like I was justified in standing up for myself and my husband on our special day. The mood was already ruined with her awkward speech interrupting my husband and I's first dance together. My sister-in-law won't talk to me, and my mother-in-law has been repeatedly calling me, demanding I apologize. My husband has not really been helpful either. He hates any kind of conflict, especially with his mother. My own family is on my side. So am I the arsehole for causing drama with my sister-in-law at my wedding? Should I have just let it go and not said anything? Holy moly, during your first dance, someone's got up to the mic and started giving a speech. That's not normal, is it? Any wedding I would have been to, I can guarantee if someone tried to pull that shit, that mic would have been out of her hands within seconds. And the fact that your husband's family's getting upset with you, your husband's calling it no big deal. Holy shit, what's going on in this family? Part of me thinks that, sister-in-law isn't well in some form to be doing that, because I just can't help but feel that's not normal behavior. You're doing this during a wedding, during a first dance, something is going on. I'm not making excuses for it at all because, mental health issues, whatever, don't give you an excuse to be an arsehole. There's the chance that she may just be being an arsehole at the same time as well. And it's not an excuse for the behavior. I'll reiterate that again. But I just can't get over the fact that the family is having a go at you for making the situation awkward or whatever, when she's the one during your first dance. I can't get over that. Took the mic and started giving this speech. Holy shit. But Winter Sweet Pea says, not the a-hole, but your confrontation-adverse husband, enabling in-laws and bizarre sister-in-law are the real arseholes here. She sounds unhinged. If I'd been a friend of hers, I would have been helping her set down the microphone and take her somewhere to cool off. And no, when someone is basically saying that you're marrying her brother is destroying their relationship, that person doesn't need accommodating. That person needs therapy. OP says, honestly, I do feel bad for her. I think she does need therapy. Divorce is seen as a huge sin in their religion, and she hasn't been coping well with it. Danny MC says, not the a-hole, do not apologize for this. Your husband needs to back you up. OP says, he's been brainwashed by his religious family for a long time. It's hard for him to stand up to them, but I agree, he needs to sometimes. At least for the important things. Here Few Not says, not the a-hole, she interrupted your first dance. What the fuck? Obviously his family must be used to her terrible behavior. She's probably always been able to get away with it, so they don't see how horrendous this is. You do not owe her an apology. She should have been escorted out of the venue for doing something so rude. I think you should seriously talk to your husband and explain to him that what she did was very disrespectful to you. Really, he should be able to support you here. But if he's too non-confrontational to stand up to his family, he should at least be able to recognize and acknowledge that this was wrong on his sister's part. Ignore the rest of his family. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for joining me today, getting involved in the stories you'll love. Your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.